Doing business in Africa. You can't afford to be without Africa Investor.
Good morning. As the rest of the panelists are coming up to the stage, I wanted to take a minute to welcome you to this exciting conversation and also introduce myself. I am Amy Hepburn. I am the CEO of the Investor Leadership Network. The Investor Leadership Network was formed during the 2018 G7 and is comprised of 13 of the largest institutional investors across the G7, both asset owners and asset managers who are committed to sustainable finance and have a focus specifically on making really targeted impact on climate, diversity and investment, and sustainable infrastructure. The collection of asset owners and asset managers within each of our areas, this is a big week for us, as you can imagine. In our climate area of focus, we're committed to creating tools for investors to realize our commitment. So I know this is going to be a conversation of the panel today, is that investors are raising their hands at rapid speed with their commitments, but do we have the tools and the willpower to realize the commitments we're making across the gamut? And that is one of the things the ILN is committed to doing, is making sure our investors have those tools. We're launching our toolkit today on reaching net zero, taking into account the transition frameworks of our investors across the board. In our diversity work, we are committed to inclusive finance. We just launched an initiative called Inclusive Finance 1.0 last year, where our membership got behind metrics that we're looking at engaging with our portfolio companies across the concept of inclusion. So, of course, taking into account diversity, but really diving into what inclusion looks like. How are you bringing talent in the door? And then how are you integrating it into decision-making and making it material for your companies? And then on our third area of sustainable finance and particularly infrastructure, we've been focusing heavily and working with our panel moderator here on blended finance. How do we, as institutional investors, unlock capital in emerging and frontier markets, and how do we do so in a material way? So with our work at the ILN, I have had the tremendous pleasure of working with Hubert Danso, who is moderating this panel here today, and have the privilege of introducing him. Hubert is with Africa Investor, and he single-handedly has done an amazing job pushing our investors to think differently across our three areas of climate, diversity, and blended finance for meaningful impact, to move beyond the platitudes of making a difference to actually the actions and impact that are going to be material, not only to our investors from a fiduciary perspective, but also for the people and planet we are looking to impact. So I personally am looking forward to this conversation today. And Hubert, thank you for moderating, and thank you for being here. And thank you on behalf of the ILN for all the leadership you have shown us in both your thought leadership, but also in your practice. Without further ado.
Doing business in Africa. You can't afford to be without Africa Investor.